Okay. Also, do you have the minutes? The minutes? Okay, good. Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, all good. Thank you. Are you ready to start? Yeah. Okay, very good. We'll begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. First of all, I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept the minutes of the previously held meeting. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Good. So we have 3 items that are up for a public hearing today. The procedures are this, and that is we'll begin with a representative from our law department swearing anyone who wishes to testify before the committee this afternoon. We'll begin at that point. I'll ask that you stand and be sworn in. However, though, what happens is that the planning department will read in the conditional use request. The planning department will provide us with a recommendation. After that, we will then open up the public hearing and permit folks to come up and speak either in favor or against the proposal, or just ask questions. After that, we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll open it up to the committee members and give them an opportunity to ask questions, and then we'll open it up to the balance of council and see if they have any questions. After that, what we'll do is then repeat that procedure basically this evening at 7 o'clock, in which you are invited to at 7 o'clock, and you will be able to have an opportunity to speak then. After that public hearing, the committee then will make a recommendation to all of council, either in favor, against, or to refer, take time on the item, and that is give it more consideration. Those are the procedures. So with that, I will now ask a representative from our law department to please swear in, and if you could please stand for anyone who wishes to speak before the committee this afternoon.
If you wish to speak at the public hearing, please stand and raise your right hand. Okay, please stand. Okay, raise your right hand and answer affirmatively. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give is the truth? Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Very good. At this point, the first item that's up for conditional use is authorizing a conditional use to establish a cleaning business at 795 East Wilbur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Judith Sampson is requesting permission to establish a cleaning business, also known as Sampson Cleans All, at this location. Petitioner stated that the cleaning business has been operating here for 8 years. The detached garage is utilized for business operations and the storage of equipment. The hours of operation are typically from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., but they can vary. The business currently employs 6 people, but has employed up to 15 people during peak times. On a routine day, the employees arrive at the residence to collect their cleaning supplies and work assignment. Since the employees utilize company vehicles, and there are 4 total, their personal vehicles are left at the residence during their shift duration. One objective of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan is to eliminate present and prevent future conflicts of land use which are detrimental to residential neighborhoods. Staff's of the opinion that the use of the residential property as a business is not an appropriate land use as it stands today. By adding an excessive amount of vehicles and parking of vehicles within the front yard, the property and use is very intrusive to neighboring properties. There are many commercially zoned properties within the city that are appropriate for operating such a business, and both Office of Integrated Development and Planning Commission recommend disapproval.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Antonucci. At this point, we'll open it up for public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request on East Wilbeth Road? Anyone here? Okay, if you could please come to the microphone, and you may have to hit the little button there and make sure it's on, and if you could please provide for us your name and address.
Hi, my name is Judy Sampson, and I reside at 795 East Wilbeth Road. I've had a cleaning company now for 8 years, very small. We're down to 5 employees now. That's with me and my husband and my daughter. So actually I only have 2 employees left. We're very small. We run a very quiet establishment. They come in and they get their stuff, the cleaners, and then they leave to go to their job, to their positions. Since I was here last time, I did get, since we're so slow, remove some of the vehicles from the premises. We are not in the gravel area that I was said it was okay to do before I even did it. I called and got permission to do that as well. They said to go ahead and put the gravel down instead of flat top because it's cheaper. But anyhow, so we did get rid of some of the vehicles because we're so slow. We're only using like 2 vehicles now. So we're doing everything we can. My employees are like in their 60 years old. If I was not to continue with the business here at the house, I can't afford anything to do that. Excuse me. I do share a driveway with my neighbors. They're very nice. Never had an issue with them. They did sign a thing for me today to be able to stay where I'm at. And I actually have a few other people said, we've been quiet. The reason why this happened, they were here today, which I didn't know I wasn't allowed to be where we're at, is we remodeled our house due to some to wear and tear on the roof. And my roofer guys actually got into the next door on the other side, which we don't even have nothing to do. She's a renter. That got into their driveway, was there for 5 minutes, and this is what caused this today. Like I said, we're quiet. We want to continue. I don't want to have my other workers be out of a job because of this. We have cleaning supplies, which every house has cleaning supplies. You know, sweepers, Windex, just regular basic cleaning supplies. So I would really appreciate if you guys would take in consideration of us to stay where we're at.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone? Okay, very good. Now we will request, is there anyone here wishing to speak against the conditional use request at 795 East Wilbit? Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone? Very good. We'll close the public hearing. And of course, invite you back this evening at 7 o'clock, okay, for another public hearing. At this point, what I'd like to do is ask any committee members if there's any questions whatsoever. Any questions? Mr. Kamer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I've spoke to, just inform council members and chambers, I've spoke to the petitioner on the phone a few times over the last 2 months. Spoke to the Mike Antonucci a few times, and I kind of want to see if the petitioner can come back up to the microphone to kind of paint a picture of basically what the daily operations are at that property. And Mike Antonucci, we didn't have nobody come down to the Planning Commission and speak in opposition, correct?
That is correct.
This is solely a complaint that came into the office.
Yes.
Okay. So if the petitioner don't mind to come back up, because I kind of want to paint a little picture. I believe her residence is more of a storage.
Correct.
For the employees to maybe come and get what they need to get and then move on to their different jobs throughout wherever. So if you don't mind, maybe elaborate for like
Sure.
maybe 2 minutes about that.
So our employees, which is, I have 2 employees, they're 63, 68 years old. They've been with me ever since we started. And my daughter picks everybody up now. So the one lady that was picking everyone up, she actually quit because we're so slow. She put her 2 weeks notice in a couple days ago. And she's been with me ever since also. So that cuts down 1 vehicle. They come in, they get their supplies. You know, we say good morning, they load everything, and they go up and get into our vehicle that we supply for them. They're actually parking over at the neighbor's yard. They asked if they could have, instead of parking at our residence, and he said absolutely. And then they go to their jobs, whatever is scheduled for that day. They come back in probably about 2 o'clock, they drop their stuff off, and then they go home. Again, start up the next day. We work from Monday through Friday, never on the weekends. So they come in at 8:30 and they're gone by 9 o'clock, and we don't see them again until when they're done. And then they get in their car and go. So
Thank you.
yes, it is more like for a storage.
No, I appreciate that. Mike, did we ever come up with additional conditions that we spoke to?
If you look at the ordinance that's submitted for consideration, no more than 5 vehicles on the lot. That no vehicles be parked in the front yard. That's also a condition. Area be kept free of trash and litter. The property shall be inspected by fire, the storage in the back, and that the property be in compliance with all residential development requirements of the zoning code. So those are the conditions that are on the ordinance.
Now, is that added on from our conversation we had, or is that?
Pretty sure I think that follows what we discussed, unless there's another one that you'd like to.
No, that's fine. My main concern is traffic, parking of vehicles, and then obviously.
Since I spoke to you last, I believe it was you, Dottie.
Yeah, I'm Donnie,
I have
sorry.
not, nice meeting you. We have not parked in the driveway, even my mother, or in the front yard, since you said that. I respect the fact of that. And again, we've downsized, like I said, our vehicles there, and I even told my mother, do not park in the, because she was pretty much parking, because she lives with me. She's not even parking in there now as well.
Well, just so I can finish up and let other committee members ask questions, I'm kind of torn between this. So obviously moving forward, if the committee wishes to take time, I would like that, so I can dive into this a little bit. And then obviously I encourage council members to weigh in also, because, you know, I see this more as a little storage, not a facility, but a storage for your employees to come and then get out of there and go do their business. But obviously if the complaint comes into your office and somebody's not really going to come down here and do their part in regards to speaking in opposition, I also find issue to that too. So that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Cameron. Mr. Neal? Nothing? You're good? Very good. My question is that in terms of the storage of the equipment and such, and the material that you use, is that all outside it's not in the house, is it?
No,
It's all
no.
out in
It's
the
all
garage
outside.
area? Okay, that's
Yeah.
kind of important, I would think, especially with regards to our friends in the fire department. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Mr. Swirsky?
Yeah, what are you storing there?
Pardon me?
What other materials?
We have like my husband's motorcycle that's way in the back. And then I have like the supplies, and then I do have a restroom in there for the people or employees that come in, so they don't have to go into my house. And then I have a little office for myself.
Okay, so there's no like quantities, cleaning
But we
solutions or-
have furniture and stuff upstairs because it goes up, so we have all of our Christmas stuff and everything, so it's a
There's
storage.
no like large containers of cleaning
No,
solutions or anything like that?
no, absolutely not.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Do you know what the it sounds as though this garage area is kind of considerably large. It's a pretty good size.
Yeah.
Was it before you had acquired the property or?
This was after, so my dad built the house.
Okay,
Okay, my dad built the house, he's passed away. He must have known he was gonna get sick, but the guys that built the house, built built that for me. And we moved my mom in after he got sick, so I think he kinda knew, but he's like wanted that in there. I mean, but no, he's the one that
I'm just
did
curious
it.
if there's like a business type thing in there
Yeah,
previously or
because
not.
it used to be in my house,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Keith? Ms. Keith, and then...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is for our department over here. Can you tell me how this would be any different than a daycare with people dropping off their kids and at a certain time coming back and picking them up?
Well, essentially, the way this has operated in the past is that the employees would come to the residence and leave their vehicles, and there was a parking area in the front of the house where the vehicles would just stay pretty much all day. So the complaint was kind of centered on the amount of vehicles that were on the lot primarily,
And
then
that's
the
against our
activity of the
ordinance,
business.
is to have vehicles in the front of our homes.
Right, you can't have vehicles
So-
parked in the front.
Yeah, and sometimes that's a gray area because we see it done throughout. So if I am correct, Mr. Chair, if I may direct my question over there. You were made aware of this.
Yeah.
And so you have corrected.
Correct,
The
yes.
situation. Was this the first time that you
I-
became aware?
I have never, ever, since we've been there, had an issue with this, ever.
Okay, and you know what? My heart goes out to you because I know you're trying to make ends meet.
Right.
And business is slow. And I think just the idea that you identified what the issue was and you
Yes,
corrected it
correct.
says a lot for you. And according to the councilman here for your ward, if the person who filed this complaint cannot come down here and talk to you about it, makes me also believe that you have a right now to be doing what you are doing because you want to be within the parameters of the law and
Yes.
you have abided by it to the best of your knowledge. So I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it is nerve-wracking to come up to that podium and to have to speak, but we hear you. So thank you for
Thank
doing
you.
that.
Thank you, Ms. Keith. Thank you. Further questions or comments? Sims?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the conditions that Councilman Kamer identified, will that remedy the issue, do you believe?
Yeah, it should, it should, obviously, it will make the property appear, less of an intrusion on the neighborhood by having less vehicles parked in the front yard and all of that.
So
I would just add, that's really ultimately up to City Council, whether it remedies the issue, but as Mr. Antonucci said, the nature of the complaint primarily was the vehicles that were parked in the front. I've got the Google Street View. There are 3 vehicles parked in the front yard on that, and so that's why one of those conditions was put to eliminate vehicles being parked in the front yard.
So I guess the question, I know we've talked a little bit about creative kind of zoning to support small businesses, even up in the Highland Square area. And as we continue to explore that, I was just kind of wondering, we do want to support things like that. I'm not convinced necessarily the person that's opposing it didn't come down because they didn't want to. They could be working too. We don't really know what the reason for that is, but I would say we do support home businesses, but if it looks as if the recommendations for conditional use remedies it, I certainly could support that. I would think, since we could make an educated guess as planning as to whether it meets that test.
Very good.
Or no.
Okay.
Was that a
Answer?
question? I wasn't sure what your
Yeah, it was a
question was, Councilwoman Sims.
It was a question.
Whether, I can say the administration certainly supports small business, and as you all know, though, these zoning issues are always a matter of balancing residential land use, because it is a residentially zoned area, with the commercial use.
So what I thought I heard earlier,
Sampson?
Ms. Stamsel say, was that she removed several, I guess there were other vehicles like trucks that they were using. Is that?
Yes, we no longer keep them in the front yard because that's what we talked about, and I didn't know that was an issue, so once I found out that that was an issue, we got rid of the vehicles in the front yard.
Okay? You good?
So the answer is yes?
I'm still not sure what the question was.
Just using your expertise, that's planning, and the steps that have been taken or the recommendations for conditional use, the reduction in the number of vehicles, I think it was 5, I think we said, or something like that, would that remedy the issue?
Well, that, as I said, that's up to city council. So we recommended disapproval of the conditional use ordinance. There's a condition per our discussion about the vehicles being removed from the front, and then it's ultimately up to planning committee and council whether that remedies it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And maybe it might be best for everyone real quick, if I understand this correctly, Mr. Kamer had a discussion with the planning department. 5 conditions have been added as a result of that discussion. And just for the record for everyone here, one of the conditions is that no more than 5 vehicles are permitted on property, and that no vehicles may be parked in the front of the dwelling. So we're all on the same page. That's the first one. The second one is that the property is limited to no more than 5 vehicles. Okay, so we're all clear. That's 2. 3 is that the area be kept free of trash and litter. 4 is that the property be inspected by the fire department. Important 4. 5, that the property be in compliance with all residential development requirements of the zoning code. So those are the 5 conditions. So that's the way they are, and if the petitioner agrees to that, then, okay, very good.
Yes.
So, but with that, again, what we'll do is we'll invite you back this evening at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And then we'll make a decision at that time, you know, moving forward and, or taking time on that
Okay.
issue.
I
All right?
want to thank everybody very much.
Thank you,
And
Ms.
lots of
Sampson.
prayers that we don't have to move. So
Thank you.
Thank you
You
again.
did great. Thank you so much
Thanks.
for coming down. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, very good. Now we're going to move on to item number 2, which is authorizing a conditional use to construct a parking lot on the west side of Yellowstone Avenue, south of East Talmadge. Mr. Antonucci.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, Frank Charlillo, who owns the adjacent Academy of Self-Defense located at 1220 East Talmadge Avenue, is requesting permission to establish a parking lot on the west side of Yellowstone Avenue. A courtesy letter was sent to the petitioner on August 14th after the zoning staff was notified that the vacant residential property was being used as a gravel retail parking area. Petitioner stated that the additional parking area is needed for overflow parking for his business. He has stated that the extra parking is typically only needed on a few occasions per month. Planning staff is not opposed to utilizing this lot as parking if the property is fully developed in accordance with the zoning code. As such, parking area must be paved and set back 25 feet from Yellowstone Avenue, along with curbing and a 5-foot in-depth landscape buffer. The location of the proposed parking area is consistent with retail uses to the east and west, and that the petitioner has already buffered the retail use from the abutting residential property with solid fencing. This neighborhood is currently developed with a mix of residential and retail uses, and the proposed parking lot will not be out of character with the surrounding uses. If the property meets all the development requirements of the zoning code, both OID and Planning Commission recommend approval, subject to conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request on Yellowstone Avenue. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request on west side of Yellowstone Avenue? Anyone in favor? Anyone? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. We'll ask now if there's any questions from any committee members. Hearing none, any council representatives have any questions or comments? Hearing none, we're going to move on to item number 3, which is authorizing conditional use to establish a warehouse and offices at 1011 Gorge Boulevard.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, Terry Vale is requesting permission to establish a contractor's office and commercial warehouse at this location. A member of the petitioner's family, his daughter, currently operates a private school, Out of the Box Academy, at this location. After a few years in operation, the school has determined that the facility is larger than necessary for its operation. Behind the building and to the east is a large 5-bay commercial garage that is currently unused by the school. Petitioner intends to utilize this garage as a satellite materials and equipment storage facility for his roofing business, Vale Roofing. Additionally, a portion of the school building would be used for office and periodic employee training sessions. Primary location for the well-established commercial roofing company is in Paynesville, and this new location would provide the company with a presence in the greater Akron area. Sufficient parking is available within the fenced lot to support both uses. No significant changes to the property are necessary, and all materials and equipment would be stored within the large garage. One goal of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan is to encourage the expansion and development of commercial and industrial activities in areas suited to their needs by actively promoting Akron's vacant or underutilized land for use by the city's existing industries, as well as new manufacturers that desire to relocate to Akron. Both OID and Planning Commission recommend approval, subject to conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. Is there, at this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request on Gorge Boulevard, 1011 Gorge Boulevard? Anyone here wishing to speak in favor? Anyone? Anyone? I think I said that 3 times. Anyone wishing to speak against the conditional use request at 1011? Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone? Okie dokie. Hearing none, we'll now close the public hearing. Is there any questions or comments? Committee members or council members at this time? No questions or comments? Okie dokie. We will now move on to the balance of the agenda, at which we'll request time, and we'll move into the new list of legislation. Item number 2, approving the sale of certain city-owned property located at 103, 109, 117, 121 to 123 North Adolph Street to Summa Health Systems pursuant to the Summa Urban Renewal Area Project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. This will be a sale of 5 pieces of vacant land. This would go to Summa. We're proposing selling this at the county appraised value. The city's owned this property for a number of years. We bought for a different project. It'd be used as what it currently is now is for parking.
Okey doke. Thank you very much. Representative Samples would like her name added to this, Mr. Clerk, if you could please do that. Item number 2. Questions or comments? Good. Consent agenda okay? Or
That'd
would you
be
like
fine.
it passed?
No,
or-
consent's fine.
Keep in mind that we're meeting next Monday.
Yes.
Most thought that we're taking off, but we're not.
Yes.
So, consent agenda okay. Is there a
That's fine.
recommendation for consent? Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. 3
Thank you.
is declaring certain improvements to real property located in the Home Avenue redevelopment area to be of public purpose and exempt from the real property taxation, providing that the collection of service payments in lieu of taxes and the deposit of those service payments in an appropriate fund.
Thank you, Councilman Fusco, and members of the committee. That was a long way of saying we are asking for tax increment financing legislation, which will allow the city to submit a TIF application to the state for the property in question. Previous legislation was passed in July of 2018, which authorized the city to sell the former sewer maintenance building to NSA Holdings. The building renovations are now complete, and a certificate of occupancy has been granted, and production has begun in the facility. The TIF funding will be used to facilitate public improvements in the area of Home Avenue. These can include sewer improvements, public pavement rehab, and sidewalks, and other things along that line. The TIF process can take anywhere up to 18 months for the state to approve the formal application, and this would be for the consent agenda.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Questions or comments? Is it okay if we take time, or is there a rush on this?
There's no rush.
No rush? Okay. Short of any questions or comments, I'll ask for, is there a motion to refer this item? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of referring signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. 4 is in public service. We're adjourned. Thank you.